and welcome to my podcast, Soul Expansion and Inspiration. This is Series 2, Episode 7, and my name is Ali O'Shea. Today, I would like to give a very warm welcome to Pamela Quinlan Doyle. Pamela is a business coach and a software trainer. Welcome to the show, Pamela. It's so lovely to have you here today.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. So listeners, while my podcast is actually about people who have come through their spiritual awakening and are now inspiring others, this is a little bit of a different interview. It's a little bit of a flip side of an interview, as Pamela will be speaking more about how she has been inspired by spiritual leaders and teachers and how she has manifested coming off medications through the care of her doctor, and also about how her business is flourishing through the spiritual teachings she has been listening to and inspired by, including none other than myself, Jason Stevenson, Colette Leosi, Tony Doyle, Shep Dina, Lute Brian Smith, and also now Abraham Hicks. So Pam, you have been through quite the journey, having lost your fiance 7 years ago, and then losing your mother as well 5 years ago.
Right.
You say that when your fiance passed, that you went through a very spiritual time, and that when he passed, you saw him reaching his arms out to heaven as if asking to be pulled upwards. Would you like to talk to us a little bit about this time in your life and how it's led you to where you are now?
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, it was really quite an experience. He had cancer, and unfortunately it went from his lung into his bones. So he only had like 3 weeks to live once we found out. So I was with him. And several times when I went to visit him in the nursing home, he would be looking out into the corner of the room or looking up and things like that. We were both very involved in our church. I was a mentor for confirmation to a girl who now calls me grandma, actually. Wow. And we were both in the church choir for years together. So, but I was reading the book Final Gifts at the time, which is it's from 2 hospice nurses that talk about what people go through when they go through cancer and are dying. Right. So it was amazing. I was reading this book at the same time he was going through these same things. And the day he died in the morning, but the day before, a group of us from church went and sang in his room. And he hadn't been able to speak at that point for a while. He couldn't use his right arm, so I used to sit on his left side, and he pulled himself up and tried to move his mouth and sing with us. Oh. Which was amazing. And then that night we realized it was pretty much to the end. So I sat with him that night in the morning, just before he took his last breath, and he reached up with all his might up to heaven and took his last breath. It was just an amazing experience. I'll just never
got chills.
Yeah, exactly. I still get chills.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
And had you been together long?
We had been together for several years. We had met online, and we had separated, but then, we were best of friends. So it was kind of a weird relationship, but I was there as his partner during the funeral and everything, and his family. His granddaughter still calls me grandma, and I still see her quite often. So we were engaged to be married. We hadn't gotten to that point yet, but I had saved his life actually a couple of years prior to that.
Okay, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
It's actually twice that's happened to me with guys that I dated. My brother kids me because he says you're their guardian angels. You save their lives and then you get rid of them. But it had happened a few years before I met Dan with the guy I was seeing at that point in time. I realized that he was ill and he wouldn't go to the hospital or anything. We had also separated at that point, but I had been talking to him and realized he couldn't breathe very well. I said, I'm calling the ambulance, and he said, give me 15 minutes. Of course, I got off the phone and immediately called. I met them in the trauma center, and they said if I had waited that 15 minutes, he wouldn't have made it. And then it was so ironic because a couple of years later, with Dan, almost the same thing happened. And and he also was having a hard time breathing, wouldn't do anything. And I insisted on doing something about it and called the ambulance. And again, the doctor told him, "You're lucky she was there, and it's a good thing that she made you listen to her," because he was very stubborn.
I was just going to say, men, they can be so stubborn, can't they?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to going to doctors.
Exactly. And sure enough, the doctor said, "You wouldn't have been here if, the first guy, he was on life support actually for some time, and then came around, he was in the hospital for several months actually at that point. Luckily, Dan wasn't in the hospital quite that long, but yeah, that was kind of one of the first things really that made me really feel very spiritual as well, just being able to see and react. I think personally, I think a lot of people would react to like that, but it made a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely sounds like you were some kind of guardian angel for them. And I believe no matter what, we are all meant to cross each other's paths for a reason. Everybody's in each other's lives for a reason, no matter what it is. And though we may never find out what it is, those are your probable reasons for meeting those people.
Exactly.
So I know you went through quite a hard time with depression after all of that, understandably. And on the 1st of April, you decided that you needed to get off this very strong medication. I think it's called oxycodone, is it?
Oxycontin. Or oxycodone.
Oxycodone. Yeah, they all kind of sound a little bit similar, all those medications, don't they?
Yes. And I was on actually several different medications. That I was also on Ambien, which is a sleep medication, sleeping pills, and an anti-anxiety medication. And all three of them were I was dependent on all three of them. Unfortunately, I had a doctor at the time. I had chronic pain, and that's what started it. But I had a doctor that anytime I went in there and I would say, "It's not doing the trick, I need more," she would up my prescription. Ooh. So I was on it for 10 years, and I was on an extremely high dose and functioning, running a business.
Wow.
And I finally just said, "You know what? I can't do this anymore. I want off." And it was a long process. I pulled together a dream team, basically. I had my minister, my doctor, my therapist, and friends and family. I was very open with all of my family about it, told my grandkids. I have all adult grandkids that are in their 20s mostly.
Right.
And a few that call me grandma that are various ages. But anyway, I wanted them to know what I was dealing with. And they all supported me. And it was a long haul, but that's how I got into really learning about meditation, was getting off of the Ambien first, getting off the sleeping pills. I was looking for a way to help me sleep. And that's how I found Jason Stevenson.
Good old Jason Stevenson.
Good old Jason. Totally accidental.
Nothing's accidental.
No, that's true. You're right.
Look where it's led you to now.
Exactly. So I started listening to his meditations, and I still do, along with many others. But that's where the meditation started, and how it led me to you and the consciousness creators.
Yeah.
And so that was in the fall. Well, then also in the fall, I had lost several clients. So I was concerned about that. So it was kind of all happening at the same time. Here I was getting off my meds and went to Ireland in November. I wish I'd known you. Yes, I was there for a week with my grandson. It was just before I met you. I wish I had known you before.
Whereabouts did you go?
We did a tour, started in Dublin, went all around Southern Ireland, and ended back in Dublin. Had a different town every night, except for we were in Killarney, I think it was 2 nights.
Did you come to Bray?
No, we didn't.
Did you go to Wicklow Town?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think that was one of them. I lose track now. But yeah, and my 24-year-old grandson, he is now working for me. He went with me. I made him pay his own way and everything. It was amazing. Awesome trip. We're both, I'm Irish and Scotch, or I thought, actually found out I'm not as Irish as I thought, but I am Irish. So it's someplace I always have wanted to go. So that was an amazing trip. And so right around that time, that's when I even was doing the meditations over there to sleep and whatnot. And when I got back, I found I had lost several clients through no fault of my own. And it was right after, I think it was in end of November, early December, that I learned of you, and you were starting to promote the Consciousness Creators group that was happening in January.
It actually started, I think, the end of October, beginning of November.
Okay, so I evidently heard about it. I think I didn't hear about it until I got back. But that's when I started kind of following you and some of the other people that were, participating in that group, and participated every day in January. As of January 12th, I finished all of those meds. That was the last day I took any of those meds. Yay!
Yeah, it's such a big task, isn't it, really, especially when you've been on so many.
Right. And even since then, I'm still on a few that I have to be on, but I've also reduced all of those. And basically now I've decided to take charge of my own life and my own medications, working with my doctor, but basically I'm the one leading the charge there and saying, I don't want to take this anymore. And,
I'd just like to say that, I would always say to never come off medications unless you do it under the care of your doctor, which you did, and I did as well. I know some people choose to, that's their decision, but I would never advocate that. But I also think that, quite often medication does play a really important role in our lives. Sometimes it can, if we are that ill in certain areas of our lives, whether it's chronic pain or depression or anxiety, it can play a role to help take the edge off. But I don't like the fact that doctors push pills all the time, or say things like what they said to me, and perhaps to you as well, that you're going to be on this medication for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
I think it's really wrong to say that. I also think it's really wrong for doctors to say that somebody's going to die within 6 weeks and give them their time limit, because that actually holds it in their vibration, and more often than not, they will die within that time frame. I have a really big problem with that.
I agree. Totally. Yes. Yeah. I've been told that many times, you'll be on it for the rest of your life. I'm like, no.
Not a good thing. And tell us, did you have side effects coming off your tablets, or not so much so because you did it so gradually?
I did have a lot of withdrawals, but it was, I managed it. I just tapered off. And then, finally, once I got into the meditations more and more, that really helped a lot. And since then, now I've learned to, some of the breathing techniques. I've done some tapping with Colette. I go back and forth on that. I haven't gotten to that as heavily as, but I did the whole tapping summit and things. I've just explored a lot of different things, and the meditation, I meditate now every morning, and oftentimes during the day. I start my day, and what I love is the positive feed, the feed on Facebook now. It's all positive on my feed. I had one lady actually made a comment. I had posted something, I had shared something on my feed when it was fairly new to me. And a girl I went to high school with posted something saying, "Oh, you're idolizing false gods," and all that, and I immediately blocked her. I was like, you have no idea what's going on in my life. And I'm a very spiritual person, and
Yeah, so, unfortunately, sometimes people don't understand or don't choose to understand.
Exactly.
It's not that we don't believe in God, it's that we have a different perception of God. Exactly. God is inside us, all around us, and it's just a different perception of this all fearing, all not unloving, but the way, like with religion, if you've been brought up with religion, that you're a sinner, and if you don't ask for forgiveness, you're going to die and you're going to burn in the depths of hell and all this. And I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. And I believe that Jesus actually was teaching the law of attraction. He was actually one of the first healers, obviously, and he was actually teaching all this stuff. Ask and believe, and you will receive.
Exactly.
It's just a different language, and yeah, I think there is that little bit of a divide between the spiritual and the religious community where they just don't understand where we're coming from with it sometimes. Not all the time. Some people, and I'm not judging or not even judging them, but not putting everybody into the same category, I should say, when they're either spiritual or religious. It's just that from my own experience, I've seen it as well.
Yes, exactly. It was interesting when I was in Florida last week. I was talking with my dad and stepmom, and she goes to church all the time, and I wasn't sure how I hadn't really talked to them much about, and they knew about the meds and all that, but didn't really know what I was doing. And I talked to them quite a bit about it. And my sisters, of course, my sister said I joined a cult, but she was joking about it, but she, obviously that she believed that in some way. But I was very pleased that my dad and Pat were very receptive, and she totally agreed too. It's like, it's all the same. Jesus teaches the same things as well. And it's all positive. And everybody has seen the change in my whole attitude and my positivity in my life and how happy I've been.
That's the thing that they need to see, and that's what they need to recognize, and it was the same for me. I even had people calling it cults. My children joke that it's a cult. Nowhere near a cult.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not all living in a commune somewhere.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, my grandson, I mentioned, I think earlier, he just said to me yesterday, he says, you were talking about this a while back when you started doing this. He says, and I didn't get it. You talk about law of attraction, but boy, I am seeing it now. He is now working for me, wants to help me build my business and hoping to be a partner with me.
Right.
So, but it was just yesterday, he said, he was really excited and wants to learn more about it. So yeah.
Send him on to me. Send him on.
Exactly.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm delighted. I mean, because it is, as I said, those changes that people start to see in your life, and they kind of think, what the heck are they doing?
Exactly.
How have they suddenly changed their life so much? Yes. How come they're seeing all the success and well-being, and they look amazing, and all these different types of things, and they're much calmer? And that's exactly what the law of attraction and meditation and believing in all these wonderful things that exist, because they are universal laws, help us to do.
Exactly. And so many people have seen that with me, or seen even my Facebook feeds, and wow, how come, what's going on? What are you doing? But it's all positive, and people
and that's good. And if they're asking, it means they may be ready to hear.
Exactly.
Take baby steps.
Yes, and that's what, I mention it, like with my grandson, I mention it, let them know, and if they're interested, I'll show them more. But
exactly.
Yeah.
So you, what would you say was the biggest thing that you got from the Consciousness Creators? For any listeners that don't know, by the way, the Consciousness Creators is a group that I set up in January with 6 of my other spiritual friends who are very knowledgeable in the different areas that they're in. And we went live each day for the month of January to uplift and raise the vibration of people that joined that group. So Pamela, can you just tell us a little bit about maybe what was the biggest thing for you in January that sort of helped to shift you?
I think it was having that constant daily connection with other people that are like-minded and that have, that one at the law of attraction, that we're practicing it and learning from them, like yourself. I mean, you were a huge part of it, I have to say. Just having that daily connection kept it in my vibration, kept me positive through the day, helped me both with the meds and then with my business. I was at the point where I was afraid I couldn't pay my rent. I had to take money out of my 401k actually that month. And I was just really feeling, like I didn't know what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
And through that month, it started, just having that day to day and people, just like-minded people, I think, and with all the groups and things like that. But it was interesting seeing all the different, every day was a different person, different type of learning, and some resonated more than others, but it was all very valuable. It was just, and I listened every single day. And
Oh,
yeah, and through that, I also, my business just started going nuts, and I've gotten tons of new clients. And I got a huge new client, especially during that month, but several since then. And it just was like a snowball. It was, just manifesting all kinds of things. Since then, I've had no problem paying my rent and manifesting Las Vegas.
yay.
Yay.
Yay, 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 yay. That's wonderful. I mean, and that's what we hoped that the consciousness creators would do. And it actually stemmed from me doing lives for 31 days by myself in 2017. And that's how it came about. It's nice to hear that you liked the different aspects of, somebody different every day to come and bring a different type of teaching. So it's interesting to hear that.
Yeah, it was right. And in fact, I listened to a lot of yours from the prior year as well. But it was very interesting. Certain ones, like I said, resonated more than others, but they all were just valuable. And it was very interesting to see the different ways people go about, or, how they learn or how they teach.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
A wonderful group of people. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you. So you actually answered a few of my questions.
Sorry.
Just to let you know, in case you're going, well, why doesn't she have any questions for me? Because you've actually answered me. So I'm just having a look here. Yeah, you've actually answered most of them.
Sorry about that. I did have one other thing that happened with me recently. I just found out about too, is in our area there is, the newspapers do the best of Monadnock, which is our region. People vote in the best businesses of the area, and I just found out I got second place for the best of Monadnock for the accountants. Last year there were 42 accountants in the running. I didn't even know I was in for it. One of my clients put my name in and encouraged people to vote for me. I didn't find out about it till after the fact. It's a secret. I'm not supposed to tell anybody. It's coming out in June.
Well, this will probably be out after June. So
that's what I figured. Yeah, I figured I'm not worried about it. People that would see this, it won't matter. But yeah, it was such a shock. And again, that was just goes to show.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was just such an exciting thing. And my grandson and I both were gearing up to that, bringing hopefully even more business for us. So
absolutely, yeah, long may it continue to grow and flourish for you. Absolutely, keep up the practices and everything.
Exactly.
One other thing I would like to say is that not only through the Consciousness Creators or through the live videos that we do or that you've been following, you're also in my academy, isn't that correct?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I love that. I have a lot of work still to do on it because I've been so busy. I haven't had to, and that's another thing I've actually learned to do, is take more time for me and take care of me. And that's through the academy, it's some wonderful programs in there. I've listened to them all and have started to do a few of them, but have to really delve into those and get more depth.
Well, I kind of made it so that you could dip in and out and go back to it, and when you have time to take notes and to do the processes and things like that.
Exactly.
So thank you.
And I love that you do so many lives too, in general, both in the academy and otherwise, because I do, you know, I make sure I try to listen to most of those.
Yeah, you're on most of them.
Time.
Yeah. Which is great. So thank you for your support. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you.
So I'm looking forward, obviously, to meeting you in Vegas, where we're hosting the workshop in the Stratosphere Hotel on the 20th of July. Very exciting.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, really exciting to meet you. And one other thing I'd like to mention as well is through this podcast, of course, we were just speaking briefly about it before we came on to record this interview, but Pamela has met Karen Aniki, well, not met in person yet, but they may well do, who was another interviewee or guest on my podcast as well. So that's another amazing thing in itself. And I know you and I were talking about how it has created such a network of people in the spiritual world, in inverted commas, to come together as a tribe, as a kind of a family, that we can all bounce ideas and have these wonderful relationships because we're all on the same journey. So I just think that's pretty amazing, and it's worth mentioning.
Yes, I love that. And all the people, you know, and a lot of the people going to Vegas and all the different pages. I'm part of the Global Random Acts of Kindness page that I know you were part of starting that. And now Taking Wing is another big one.
I didn't start that. I encouraged Rob.
Encouraged that, yes. That I figured, yes. but it's so wonderful because now, every day I get more friend requests and getting to know these people. I know people from all over the world that I can consider friends and look forward to meeting a lot of them in person. And in fact, with Karen's interview, it was very interesting because I too go to the UCC church, which I know is the church she attends. And a lot of what she said resonated with me as well. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love it. I love that it's bringing people together and making really powerful connections. So thank you for that.
No, thank you. Thank you.
And so for your business, if anyone would like to get in touch with you or avail of your services, would you like to tell people exactly what services you provide and where the best place to contact you is?
Okay, sure. My business is Solutions for Today. I am a QuickBooks Certified Pro Advisor, which is QuickBooks is an accounting software. So I help people with their bookkeeping, payroll, and I do the consulting, helping them learn what softwares will work together and with QuickBooks and how to best do it. My favorite part of it is the training. I love to teach people, and I do classes occasionally as well, and I really enjoy doing that. I have a real hard time talking, but I do have a website, and it's www.solutionsfortoday.net.
Perfect.
And so yes, and I'm on Facebook too. So.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we'll put those links, or I should say my husband will put those links. The YouTube video and on the podcast, I presume he's putting links as well. I don't know how the podcast works exactly, but it's only my show.
Yep, exactly.
Well, I would love to say thank you so much for your time today and being with us and sharing your inspirational story of how you've been inspired and how you have created a much better life for yourself. So thank you so much, Pamela Quinlan Doyle.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we'll say goodbye to the listeners, and thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.